And welcome back to Tabletop and Beyond. I am your host, Justin. Dan and Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here.
Hi,
Look at our glorious
welcome.
faces.
We have faces. We're not just disembodied voices.
Jason's drinking from the skull of his enemies.
That's right.
Very nice, very nice. Well, this is our first show of 2023. And not only that, this is the first time that we are recording video on this show. So it's kind of a big deal for us, right?
Yeah, it is. It'll be curious to see if the video makes it online or not, if we're just going to talk to ourselves for an hour.
Jason, your daughter said earlier that she was following us on Instagram, which is nice to know that at least one person saw us on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It makes
That's
me
pretty good.
wonder
And
if she
she's
knew about her Christmas present early,
oh,
since I talked about it last time, but we'll see. Maybe
well,
my daughter does listen to our podcast.
does she listen to it?
She probably just watches the Instagram feed.
Okay,
My
well,
middle daughter
no
told
harm,
me
no foul.
tonight she would listen if I mention her. So, hi,
Okay,
Meg. Go to bed.
hi Meg.
Hey, Meg.
I've mentioned you. One more listener.
That's right. Very good, very good. Well, we have a good show. We're kicking the year off right. We are talking about our New Year's resolutions, but more importantly, I think we're reviewing last year's resolutions to see
Yeah.
how we did.
How did we
Right?
do?
Because the track record of people's resolutions generally is pretty poor.
It's
So
funny. The fact that we keep show notes, I was able to go back and just copy paste from last year's so that we can hold ourselves accountable.
that was good. What foresight you had in that.
Yeah, I'm holding you accountable for my resolutions.
There we go. I didn't type that.
Very good. Well, as always, we are going Geek Week. Jason, how was your Geek Week?
I had a fun Geek Week, man. I've been spending the last couple weeks working on a Slaves to Darkness army, but I'm doing this one a full print with the Lord of the Print Unchained. I really like the aesthetic of that, so I've been working on optimizing the printer for the models, and I think I've got it pretty good. I think they're really cool little guys. I think that they really do look like Chaos Warriors. You and I have both kind of talked though that they are not hero scale. So if
Right.
you try to match them up with other Games Workshop models, if you're playing Warcry, which is what I want to play them for, then they look a little thin. Maybe they haven't been eaten as well, right? But I took their heavy guy and I actually printed him at a reduced scale. This guy's actually normally a really big mini. And I
Okay.
reduced him down to the size of what Games Workshop. I only have the old school ones here. Chaos Warrior
Yeah.
looks like, and he is a lot thicker, and I think he's on the same kind of order of magnitude of thickness of a Chaos Warrior now. So I think it's going to look pretty good. I built a Slave to Darkness list around what I could print. so we'll play it at the table,
We'll
and I'll probably be like, but
we'll,
it'll be fun.
we'll see how
That
optimized that is.
Yeah, it'll be
that's
fun.
uh, that's where creativity comes from. It comes from the constraints.
hmm I actually feel like it's not a bad list. I don't think it's going to be an A list. I'm worried, and we've on our Warcry episode, we've talked Slave to Darkness is I love the aesthetic, but they just don't hit very hard. I think they are very survivable across the board, but they just don't hit very hard. But that's not what this episode's about.
I
But
think, yeah, I mean, I think they're comparable to the Stormcast Eternals, but the Stormcast Eternals, because their model range is so large,
yeah,
they've got a
hmm
couple heavy hitters in there that can
yeah.
augment, right? So,
And I'm
yeah,
trying not to do a soup list. I want to get up several games in with a vanilla Slaves to Darkness, and then add some flavor in from the other chaos warbands in there once I kind of get a feel for what the strengths and weaknesses of the vanilla Slave to Darkness are. So that's been a lot of my time is optimizing supports and that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm getting a lot better at it, so making a lot of good progress. Um,
nice.
the other thing on my Geek Week is over the break, I've been diving into Wednesday, the
Oh,
Adams
yeah, okay,
Family spinoff, which I love that show. I love the theme, the way that what's her name? Is it Jenna Ortega?
Ortega, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The way she portrays
mhm.
Wednesday, and I don't need to rehash what all the late night TV interviews have said. She does a really great job. So it's a real fun show if you like Adam's Family from back in the day, but you like a dark, sinister, modern feel to it that's a little less TV PG and more along the PG-13 realm, um, then this is a good show to watch. But that's been my Geek Week.
I'll say my only complaint about Wednesday was the guy that they cast for her dad.
You didn't like him?
Like, I'm not a big fan of him. No,
Hmm.
no, he just didn't seem like, I don't know. I mean, Catherine Zeta-Jones is her, Morticia is like fantastic, right? But
Yeah. Well, I think
I don't know.
the show has not been about him. It's been about Wednesday
Sure.
and
Yeah.
her mother, Morticia, more.
Yep.
He's really
I
just kind
agree.
of been this side thing. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
But
Cool, that's me.
yeah, I read somewhere where she did one take where she didn't blink, and then Tim Burton was like, "Do that every time."
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
like,
She never
only a
blinks.
couple of times in the show that she'll blink, which is kind of, unsettling. Classic
Yeah.
Tim Burton stuff.
Good stuff.
I liked it because it's Tim Burton, but not like full blown Tim Burton. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Beetlejuice, like
So it's
full blown
still,
Beetlejuice.
well, I would say it is a more of a morbidish than normal Adams Family. It is still centered around teens as actors.
Yeah.
So it does kind of pull
Right.
a little bit, I think, less of Tim Burton style we're used to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty good stuff.
But I'm not finished with it
Very good
yet.
stuff.
I have a couple episodes left, so
Oh.
we'll see.
I thought they stuck the landing. I'm just gonna say that. I thought they did a good job with it.
You know,
So, I think you'll enjoy
I'm
it.
sure they did, because that seems to be the theme of 2022. You know, whether it's a good series or bad series, it's worth watching the last one in the series. That's what everyone keeps telling me. I guess we'll talk about that a little bit later with you,
I
but
think we might.
we might.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we might.
I still have not been able to
Dan?
push through Rings of Power, man. I'm struggling.
Right. That was another show that I think if you stuck around to the end, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I can see how this show ties together, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to
yeah.
push to the end because I hear good things about the ending.
I think, I think I mentioned on the show before, it benefits people that read the Silmarillion 20 years ago and they've read it 2 or 3 times since then. You're like,
Oh
okay.
man, I've got some really diehard Lord of the Rings fans, and they hate it because of how much it deviates from it.
I know, but they're too. That's the problem. It's with every fandom.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, go to a Marvel movie where they're like, "Oh, they did that
Right.
wrong." You know, I mean, come on. That's a standard complaint. People on the internet have a tendency to complain.
No.
Go figure. No, I liked it because it rewarded you if you just knew the language of the lore. If you understood, the difference between a Noldor elf and a Sylvan elf, you were like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Like, but if you like really care about the intricacies of the sequencing of the plots, it's like, come on, you got to make a TV show that people want to watch, not a perfect visual depiction of a book. That's a snooze fest, in my opinion.
Yep.
So what's up?
What about you?
Dan, how was your Geek Week?
How was my Geek Week? Tonight I played Marvel United. I got my son for Christmas the core set, the Spider-Man expansion with the 3 Spideys and Green Goblin, and I got a standalone Doctor Strange mini for like nothing this year. It was like $15 for all those 3 things. I got it for a song, and I was like,
What?
even if this game sucks,
You have a good habit of finding things at a really good bargain.
Where did you get all that for $15?
We should have like
Amazon.
the bargain week list from Dan.
It could have been like
Right.
$19.99, but I was like, oh my gosh, the sculpts are great. They're cute. I can see how some people may not like the sculpts of Marvel United because they're geared to a younger audience.
They're like squishy. They're like squishy
cartoony.
hero
They're
scale.
cartoon.
Squishy hero scale. Like take hero
what
scale
are
and go.
those
The big heads,
what are those
Yeah.
things called? The Goji
Funko Pops.
Oh my gosh. Funko Pops. They're like Funko Pops.
Yeah,
a little bit.
They're just small and cute and fun, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really demand a lot from you. So my son is 10. It's a game that's for 14 and up. He got it. He figured out more of the rules than I did. He's like, Dad, you've been playing this wrong for the last half of the game, and now we're
I like
losing
the
because
idea of him calling you Dan.
yeah. My 10-year-old often refers to me by my first name because he's like, "Sir, Dan, I would like some allowance, please." Yeah. You guys, when you sign a card, you write the word dad, right? Love, Dad. Well, the
Yeah.
first two letters are my first name. I just have to remember to hit that D or that N.
Mm.
Right.
How often do you stick that landing?
Not as much as I would like. So Marvel United is fun. You do the terror clock, as it were, is you start running out of cards and you're like, oh my gosh, if we're out of cards, we die. And there's not enough cards, right? And so we barely, and I was playing it wrong, granted, but still, they do not give you enough cards to like engine build or anything. You got to get in there. It's an action
Interesting.
game. You got to go. If you know what you're doing and you work together as a team, you can be way more efficient. So it was fun. I want to play it again. I want to play all the other bad guys. I want to play all the other heroes. So I'm excited about it. It's a good game. And that was one that I had asked our board game friend, her Instagram handle escaped
the Gamer Babe.
Gamer Babe
Yep.
about. She was
Allie.
Yeah.
wonderful. I was like, I just picked it up. I don't know if it's any good. She's like, it's good. She did not lead me astray. I also picked up Bunny Kingdom. It's still in the plastic wrap. I got it for my daughter, so we're gonna crack that one open pretty soon. So my next Geek Week thing is finger joints. Now follow me here. We're gonna go on a little bit of a journey how this relates to Geek Week. So if you don't know, finger joints are kind of a fancy way when you're in woodworking to show off. It's kind of like how to build a really strong box with no screws or nails.
Mm.
And you have to be super precise because you have to cut out all the little fingers on each side, and everything has to fit together perfectly. And so last year I had a goal to build a box. So for a nativity set, I inherited a nativity set from my grandparents that have both passed on. They got it in Bethlehem in 1968. It was handmade in Bethlehem. And they have a bazillion grandchildren, and I got it. That has to do with my wife jumping on Facebook real fast and going, send it to us, send it to us, send it to us. Anyway, it was in a horrible garbage box wrapped in newspaper. And my grandfather was a master woodworker. The reason why he was in Bethlehem was because the United Nations had sent him to New Guinea, and he was making his way across the world to teach headhunters carpentry in the late 60s. So anyway, so yeah, so I was like, I got to make a nice box for grandma and granddad's nativity set. So I taught myself how to do finger joints, which is basically a very fancy way of showing off your woodworking skills, and how it relates to Geek Week in a couple different ways. Number one, I would go when I went to tournaments, I would see all these really fancy Etsy boxes that were wood that people had like cut out on CNCs and had glued together, and you can go buy it on Etsy for like a lot of money, hundreds of dollars. And I was like, you know what? I'm pretty good in the woodworking thing. I can kind of build my own. And now if I build my own, it'll be just a little bit fancier. It'll kind of show off. I got the idea from a really cool guy online that makes really cool Star Wars stuff. He had extra X-Wing stuff, and he was making boxes. And here's the geek thing is we have all these games where you don't actually get a box that fits the game, X-Wing or any of these mini games that we have. They're not the boxes that you're getting your sprues for Warcry are, except for the main big heavy duty boxes, those are inadequate for storage. And so I want to start making some very kind of nice boxes that are designed to last. I've got a couple of sets of minis where they came in a cardboard box because that was the add-on in the Kickstarter. And it was like, oh, well, we didn't put it in a real box because this is just Kickstarter benefit. So I I'm going to do some cool box making. The other thing is I had to make 3 to get to the nativity set. I have to like teach when I teach myself something new. I have to be making 2 crap ones ahead of the good one that comes in third behind. And I think as gamers, sometimes we don't give ourselves enough chance to experiment with trial and error, especially when we're crafting. I mean, I can get really frustrated. You guys remember my level of frustration with Warcry halfway through the year. I was like, totally unhappy all the time. But I was like, give yourself room. Don't make the first thing you work on your prize piece the thing that you really want. Practice your skills on crap that don't matter. So I have 2 crappy boxes because those crappy boxes are 3-4 steps ahead of the nice box that will put the nativity set in. And so anyway, it's one of those gamer things. It's one of those kind of crafty things I'm going to be doing more of this year. And that's not one of my New Year's resolutions. That's my geek week.
but sounds interesting.
And now I can show off how
Right
good
on, my man.
my very fancy, no screws, no nail joints. Show off.
Yeah,
Show off.
right on. My geek week was spent in some pure hobby bliss this last little bit. So I got the next edition of the Warcry box, and you might be able to see it over there on the camera. Well, the Geek Week thing's hiding it, but it's the Sundered Fate Warcry box. So I'm holding up right now my here's a Pteranodon guy. Here's a little skink guy that I built, right, with a blowpipe. Kind of hard to see in the camera, but there's some models that I got done there. So I got those built. I do need to build the Jade Warriors. I've already picked out some painting schemes for them. So the skinks, I'm going to do a leopard skink, which are they're blue with dark blue stripes, with some bands of turquoise and black on them. And then the Jade Warriors, I'm going to do like an Aztec. So I'm going to do like a Jade mask, Jade weapons, but like nice red cloaks with some like gold in there as well. So
if they weren't skinks, I would have bought that box. I had money. I was like, I want the new Warcry box. Oh, they're dumb looking lizards. I'll wait for the next one.
So these lizards, we're gonna review this in next week's Warcry. I do not know how this was a list that got put together because they just look super weak. But we'll see. You know,
and how much was that?
Maybe their whole thing is about board control.
Was that a 250?
It was 150. I got it with 150.
150.
I think it retailed at 180 something, but I got it for 150. Yeah. So, but I did get my orcs for a kill team all painted and done. So look to Instagram. I'm going to be putting these out. I 3D printed some of those bases and dusted them up really nice. So they look.
Hold it up just a little bit more. It was hold it up just a minute so we can see the base that you 3D printed.
Let me
because it's being blocked by your name on the. Still being blocked by. There you go. Up.
There.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on that base. You 3D printed that? Where'd you get the 3D print file from?
Yeah. I found it on Colts 3D on the website, and it was a $3 base pack that we had, and I was happy to pay that because that saved me a bunch of time and effort in trying to create my own bases, right?
Yeah.
So they had them in the 40 mil, 32 mil, 25 mil, and of course you could scale them up if you needed to, but it worked out well. And then, sorry, hold on one second. I'm going to grab.
It's a good look for you, Justin.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I've got my Rotmeyer Creed done as well. So those look pretty. The camera's having a hard time focusing on these guys too. But put some swampy bases on them and got them all.
Are they all done?
Up,
all your Rotmeyer?
Happy. Yep, all of them done.
Nice.
Yep. So there's my blowpipe guy.
Yeah, maybe they'll
be looking
better against the ogres now.
Exactly. You always roll better with painted miniatures. Always. So that is a fact. And I will I'll post a lot of those to Instagram because I got some new lights and a new camera background. So I think you'll see some improve. So follow us on Tabletop and Beyond Instagram because you'll start seeing some miniatures that we'll be posting. And Jason, we got to get you on the Instagram too and show off some of your 3D prints.
I spent a lot of this last holiday tearing my hobby room apart to try to make it a little more optimized. So my crap's everywhere, So I'm not really optimized to sit down and paint right now, but I'm hoping once I do, I can get in a routine again.
Nice, very good. The last thing is one of the goals that we had this holiday, and we didn't succeed, mostly because my son is turned into a feral animal, and so he's like comes and goes as he pleases. But we tried to watch as a family Andor, and I'm gonna be
Not a
honest,
good
guys. I
family
think
show.
this
That's not a good
it is for
family show.
it is for the 13 and 16 year old.
The older
The
kids.
littlest one's not watching it. Yeah, the older kids, they can watch it. But I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think that show was a little hyped up for me. I'm not loving it as much as everybody else is. My brother
I think
called me and
sometimes you
said,
gotta.
"This is the best show that has been on TV this entire year."
I've only heard
And
good
I
things
don't
about it,
know.
except from you.
I know. I
You need to
know. I
ride the
know.
hype wave when it's a wave, because then you're all it's good, and then you watch it and you're like, it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
But if you would have started
I
watching it with everybody else and
I
went,
know.
oh, well, this is good, then you would have been
I
part of the
know.
hype wave.
You know what, Dan? I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on that, and I think that's part of it. Um, and yeah, I also think I truly believe this after having talked to multiple people. I think the ending is going to make this show better because everybody I've talked to has finished it and they're like, it's an amazing show. The ending was fantastic. Like it concluded it like it ended where it needed to. Like
You haven't finished it yet?
no, no.
Oh.
I've got 5 more episodes. So I'm reserving total judgment. I'm giving myself some space to improve the opinion. But so far I'm in episode 8
Have you gotten
and
to
I'm
Andy
just kind of like
Serkis's bit yet? Have you seen Andy
I
Serkis
have.
on that?
And by the way, he was a very bright spot in a very dull episode in my opinion.
Yeah,
But,
he really
you
he
know,
was good.
I
Yeah,
was like, dude, I was like Andy Serkis like and he like killed it when he was in it. Like Andy Serkis is amazing.
I don't know.
You
Take
know,
any
so
series, randomly pull it off the shelf, anything that's been made in the last 36 months. Look at the mid episodes. Look at the like whatever it's if it's 6 episodes or
yeah.
10 episodes or 15 or whatever, find the middle episodes and you will find the pacing problem.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, 100%. I
It's
totally agree with you.
everywhere.
House of the
It's
Dragon was the same
everywhere.
way. Yeah, House
Yeah.
of the Dragon was the same way. I even think Wednesday has some middle pacing issues with it too, right? Like I think a lot of them do. I 100% agree with that. So again, I'm reserving my final judgment until we finish it, and I really
Okay.
think, as Jason mentioned before, like the end is kind of what is making some of these shows better. So yeah, there's a
Well,
show on
you get
HBO called White Lotus, and that was a really stupid show, but the ending, like all of a sudden, made that show way better. Like I don't know what it is. So some shows way back when we were growing up had problems finishing. They didn't know how to end it. They usually ended on a cliffhanger and then got canceled the next season or whatever. Now shows are ending really well. They just don't know how to do the middle part very well, I feel like.
the other thing that Lord of the Rings and Andor and Boba Fett and all those things have in common is there's always a really strong fan service background layer.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan and you speak the language of that fandom, all the Easter eggs and throwaway lines, they're just like, they're throwing grapes across the room and I'm
Yeah.
catching them all in my mouth. And so
That's true.
that's one of the problems is if you're just watching it to watch it, like, oh, I heard Andor was good, I heard Obi-Wan was good. You're enjoying it on a surface level instead of at the stupid Easter egg level. And I live at
Yeah.
the Easter egg level. That's like I can't
For
get
Star Wars
out of the
anyway,
Easter
in
egg
Lord of the
level.
Rings.
That's my
Yeah,
problem.
that's true. It's
Yeah.
true. So
Well, you're
I
not a
think
bad
part of the
person. You're
problem
not a bad person. You're not a bad person.
Well,
It's
I
okay.
also wonder if part of the problem is a relative problem in the sense that Andor was made in a year of I hate to say this, but kind of mediocre television. Like we had a lot of content that came out, and not a lot of it was great. You know what I mean? I think a lot of the MCU shows that came out were very subpar this year. I think even some of the Star Wars shows that came out weren't that great comparatively.
I can
So like
forgive
Book of
you. I
Boba
can
Fett, and I
forgive
even
you.
think yeah, but at the same time, I've been going back and I've been watching some other shows from that have stood out that people said this is a great show to watch that I missed back in like 2015 or 2016 or something like that. And so I've been these shows that are like were the cream of the crop back in 2015, 2016, and I'm kind of comparing them to some shows that are now that are just kind of mediocre. And I'm like the writing's okay, like, but I've also been like eating, like high quality, content.
Look,
So
I'm going to be
I don't know,
honest.
relative issue.
I have a bias for television that is pre-streaming, like shows that you can
Yeah,
watch now that maybe they ran on network because they were under different artistic constraints and they had to
right.
produce a higher quality product in less
Mm-hmm.
time
Yep.
with a different kind of budget than these streaming
Yeah,
shows. And they could be get picked up and renewed and all that stuff. Some of the shows I keep streaming over and over again predate my Netflix plus whatever Amazon habit.
I think that's a great point. I think that, and I agree with you. I think some of the shows that I've seen, even well, yeah, I mean, like even like previous HBO shows, like if you go to The Sopranos or The Wire or Boardwalk Empire or something like that, those all predate streaming, and they still had to prove their worth at the end of every season,
Would
and
you
so
say that we are still recovering from the writer's strike of the late 2000s?
oh, that's an
I
interesting
feel like when that
question.
writer's strike hit and like that's when like reality TV kicked in. This was before streaming. This is when Netflix was a
Yeah,
DVD that showed up in your mailbox,
Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
The writer's strike happened and all TV quit. And then it just became the studios just started doing live TV where anyone could be an actor, right? And there was no
yeah.
writing. It was just, we'll put everybody in a room on a beach and we have to see who comes out alive, that kind of a thing.
Yeah,
And I
none of that
feel like,
none of that stuff is rewatchable now.
I know, and I feel like, boom, we went down, and I'm not sure we've fully gotten back up. I think we've had some really good stuff, but I don't know across the board if we've had television series that have gotten back to that point. But maybe we have. I don't know. But something to think about. That was late
Yeah.
2000s, right? It was like 2000, what, like 9 or 10 or
I
something
remember
like
when it hit Battlestar Galactica, that was a big deal because
that?
Ron
2007.
Ron Moore,
Yeah.
who is the executive producer of
Yeah.
Battlestar, he was very involved in the writers' strike. So
Mhm.
I think he had a leadership role in the Writers Guild. So I remember during
Huh.
the podcasts, when podcasts was brand new, he would do a commentary track for all the episodes of Battlestar. He would mention the writers' strike a
Mhm.
lot.
Yep. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah,
Anyways,
that'd be
the
interesting
thought.
to kind of dig into that and see. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, that was kind of my geek week, watching a bunch of TV and doing a bunch of hobbying. So I very much enjoyed it. I don't want to go back to work tomorrow, but who does? So anyway, all right. Well, with the geek week wrapped up, we are on to the geek news. The news.
Welcome to Tabletop and Beyond News.
Very good. Even with
We're-
a high production, we're still going low tech.
That is low production. That is
Right.
guerrilla production.
Hey, that's in now, man. Lo-fi.
That's pirate radio. Yep.
Yeah,
We are
lo-fi right there.
Lo-fi. Well, we've got one news item today. We are in holiday week, so there's really not a lot going on, and that's to be expected and good. A really important thing that dropped, though, which affects a lot of people across the entire gaming world, especially with RPGs, is Wizards of the Coast posted a new frequently asked questions about the new open gaming license and about the system reference document. So just for those who don't know, the open gaming license is a thing that allows you to go make your own D&D compatible content. It works for 5th edition and it works for every other edition that it covered before that. Pathfinder lives and breathes on the open gaming license. And if you walk through Gen Con and you look at somebody's RPG book booth, there's a 50-50 chance that they're using open gaming license to make money. There's another thing called the system reference document. The system reference document is like the 20-page version of the rules that you get, right? There's like 1 feet, there's it's a very, very pared down version of the player's handbook, like down to 20 pages. So, what Wizards of the Coast said is that one D&D that will be coming out will be backwards compatible. We've mentioned that before. It'll be backwards compatible with 5th edition. So that's good. So everybody who still wants to publish under the old open gaming license is good to go. But they are going to release a new 1.1 version. Now there's only been one version that they just keep editing when they add different editions. Like 5th edition, it was on the same license as 4th and 3.5 and 5 and all the way back down to whatever. But they're forking the open gaming license. So this one, it makes clear that materials that are created, that it only covers use that are the covered use case is tabletop role-playing games. Now, if you try to do other things like, video games or videos or other types of digital content, that requires special licensing through Wizards of the Coast Hasbro. So it doesn't need to be in paper. It can be an EPUB or a PDF or whatever, but it still needs to be. If you're deviating from the product of being a tabletop role-playing game supplement, then you're kind of in trouble. When you're not in trouble, you have to tell WotC what you're doing, or get permission rather from WotC. So they're changing the terms. So they're going to make sharing content for free its own special swim lane in the new open gaming license, which is cool for people who like to post things in Creative Commons and so forth and so on. If you are going to sell anything, you have to accept the license terms, and then you have to let WotC know what you're doing. You have to report your annual OGL related revenue annually if you make more than $50K a year. This is a really big change to the open gaming license. So if you make more than $50,000 US, you have to tell Wizards of the Coast Hasbro that you did. And you have to put a creator product badge on your work. Now, if you happen to make over $750,000 on your product, you will have to start paying royalties starting in 2024. So according to this FAQ, they only have like 20 content creators that make over 750,000 in a year. So that only really applies to them. And that's for publishing content compatible with the 1.1 version of the open gaming license. So it's a really big thing. This open gaming license has been the beating heart of the secondary market for role-playing game stuff. Paizo's entire business is based on the open gaming license, like their entire business. I would even argue their minis are based on the open gaming license. So most of the publishers that we talk about, Free League Publishing, Modiphius, I think Modiphius may have some 5th edition stuff. I know Edge Publications has put out, one of the only things they've ever published has been a 5e compatible supplement. So this is a really big deal, and it marks a slight change of course, but over time, changes of course will have a longer impact than they will when it originally goes into effect, which should be early this year, 2023.
Yeah. Very interesting. I think I think a lot of people started to freak out when they saw this, like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? But then when they saw, oh, you really only have to, report if you made over $50,000 in a year, which, to be honest with you, your average Joe Schmo that's making a, $2 PDF adventure that they're going to sell on DM's Guild isn't likely going to hit those numbers. It's the thing. It's the people like the Cobalt Press and, like you said, Free League Publishing that may port over some of their systems into 5e. So yeah, it'll just be interesting. Do you think that this will put a damper on some of the content that the bigger companies put out? Will they continue to put out a 5e version. Like for example, the One Ring came out with its own system, but then they put out a One Ring 5e version.
Yeah, I think absolutely. There's no reason they will not do something that they already have in their business plan that is already showed to generate profit for them. You know,
Right.
if the big guys, when they breach 750K and they have to profit share, they're just going to have to update their business models and they're going to have to update their roadmaps to account for that. But it's still revenue. It's still
Right.
increased. And they're not going to just
Exactly.
ditch all of that revenue and walk away from it. The other thing is this is not unheard of, right? This is an evolution of a company who has started to bring something to the mainstream over the last, 5+ years. This has become mainstream. When the Unreal, and I don't think the license was currently work like that now, either the Unreal Engine or the Unity, I think it was the Unreal Engine. At one point, they went through a period where they said, "Hey, anyone can." It used to cost money just out the door to use the Unreal Gaming Engine, and then they went through a period where they said, "You know what? We're just going to open the door to everybody. But if you make more than this much a year with our engine, then you have to move up to the next tier and start paying fees." This is not an unheard of model for
Yeah.
licensing capability. If you're a little dude, if you're an independent and you're just in there having a good time, no worries, you don't have to pay us anything. Get up to $50,000. Now you got to start reporting so that we can kind of pay attention. $750,000. It's like it's not going to affect anyone except for the people who are already doing it. And like I said, they're not going to walk away from the revenue. They're just going to update their pipelines
Yep. Yep.
and their
100%.
forecasts.
So, yeah, I mean, I think they're doing what they got to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is a in demand product, so
Yeah.
doing
Well,
what they gotta do.
and to be fair, and I know we harp on D&D a little bit here and there, but because there is a world outside D&D, this this is not. I don't think this is unfair. I think this is a very fair
No.
model, and I think it will help Wizards of the Coast continue to enable additional content for their product, which a lot of people benefit from. So
Mhm.
and I don't think it's an unfair way of doing it.
Yeah, and if you've made $500,000 like on a Kickstarter for D&D,
Right.
bully for you. I mean, that's great.
Bully
I
for
mean,
you. Yeah,
it,
exactly.
I don't know. What do you think with those videos that they were doing, like the Matt Mercer, which that was
Matt
D&D,
Colville.
Matt Coville, which was the one they made their own Machina,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
D&D
Yeah.
cartoon. They raised
Mhm.
millions of dollars.
Right.
I wonder if they would have had to that is not tabletop RPG. I don't even know if they were getting close to copyright infringement with using the system, referencing creatures, referencing, I don't know if there's D&D specific IP where they would have triggered this new open gaming license thing.
I guess it depends on where the boundary is on what is covered in the OGL, right? Which you don't need to dive into right now, but
It's
like
not even out. We're just
yeah,
waiting for it. Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
create your own monster, random monster with your own name, and you create a stat block, if that stat block is compatible with D&D, does that mean it's covered by OGL?
Yeah. I
So
think
those are
Yeah.
the kind of questions that we're going to
if
start
you
to see
ask
explored.
the EFF, the Electronic Freedom Foundation, Cory Doctorow has really, really strong opinions about this. Basically, when you boil it down to brass tacks, according to Cory Doctorow, there is no game mechanic in any RPG that's truly copyrightable.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
could come out with your own constitution, intelligence, dex, strength thing,
Yeah.
and a lot of RPGs sound a lot like
Yeah.
the old D&D with the
I
6 attributes.
I think that D&D maybe. I think you could probably copyright THACO.
Yeah, stuff like
You could
that.
probably copyright THACO. We were going to say Constitution.
Yeah,
Look,
just because of all the
mankind has had
tables and all that.
Constitution well before we were rolling dice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's
Yeah.
that interesting. This is going to affect everything that's going on this is bigger than just RPGs for our non-RPG listeners, because what Wizards of the Coast does with D&D spreads out all over the place. And there's also board games and other types of products directly associated with the D&D brand. It is Hasbro's most profitable brand right now. It beats Transformers for some unknown reason. So
Because
just
Transformers sucks.
well, I think
Those
I don't know
movies
if
are
that includes
terrible.
their movie revenue. I don't know. If it included their movie revenue, I think every time they make a Transformers movie, it's always big in Asia. So that's where they.
That's true.
We're like, were we done with this series like 4 episodes ago? They're like, no, we're just printing our own money in Asia. They love it there.
Yeah, and I was in Avatar the other day, and the new trailer for one dropped. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I literally turned to my wife and I was like, I literally thought that this series was done. I guess not.
Is it still Michael Bay?
Oh, it has
It might
to be.
be.
It has to be. That guy he's got a Scrooge McDuck money based on Transformers, man.
All his movies are exactly the same. Just saying.
They are.
Well, that's the
even
news,
Ambulance.
folks.
The trailer. What was that movie? Ambulance? Or
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Ambulance.
that was one of those where the trailer played the whole movie for you, right? I
Yeah,
watched the movie in like
absolutely.
5 minutes. Like, all right, whatever. I've seen that movie, but it was all the same. It was just crazy close-up facials, shaking cameras, explosions, and that's it.
And if somebody says,
For
"Hey,
2
did
hours.
you see that movie?" You'd be like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I saw it.
yeah,
Yes, I did.
yeah."
Well,
yeah,
there's
that one came
more-
on right before this other movie I
Yeah,
watched.
that's right.
Oh, the news is not over. You had another news
right.
item. I apologize
Go ahead.
for trying to end it.
There is. This is one that I put in because apparently Dan has been filtering the Paizo information because he doesn't like Paizo. So that's and you know what, Dan? Fair. That's your opinion. That's your
Hey,
opinion.
you guys say I put in too many news items. If I got to choose between Wizards of the Coast and Paizo, Paizo loses
Hey,
every time.
I hear you. So here we are. Paizo is looking for leadership volunteers in 2023. This came out a couple weeks ago, but I believe that they're still looking for folks. What it's basically asking for is volunteers to come help run some of their events, such as PaizoCon and Gen Con coming up in the next year. So, if you've never run something at a convention, and you're kind of a little hesitant to take it all on your own, like basically, prep your own game, go run your own game. Working with a company is a great way to do that. We've seen it with Baldwin Games. There's other big companies out there that will you can join and do stuff. We talked to a couple of people from Asmodee, I think, at Gen Con this year, and they're like, yeah, I'm just a contractor. They pay for some of my stuff, and I get to come play games, and it's great. And I got to work a couple of shifts, but that's how it is. Well, if you are interested in doing something like that, it's a great way to come to a con too, because you get to meet a lot of people, and you also get to run games. So they've got a lot of different positions there. There's like the play coordinator, there's the schedule folks, there's the GMs, there's all sorts of things that they need to run a big showing at their conventions. Because if you've been to
the
Gen
link
Con,
on the big board.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll do that. But yeah, if you've ever been to Gen Con, Paizo has a pretty significant following. Like they've got like that huge, like basically almost the entire second floor. So here is
There have been years where the
link.
Paizo table footprint has been larger than the D&D footprint. You still have the D&D
Right.
news up on the big screen. Oh, now it's
Yep.
just you.
Hey,
I know.
there's the big news right there.
There you go.
Oops.
Big guy.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Did it was it not showing the Paizo thing?
No. We can see the link now.
Now we can see the link.
Okay. Well, I had
First
the page
vidcast
up
of
and apparently it didn't
2023.
show that, so yeah.
We're
So
working at
there's
the
link
bug,
right
people.
there. HTTPS www.tabletopgamingnews.com
Okay.
Paizo looking for leadership volunteers 2023. So
For
that's
all
for our
you
listeners
podcast
who
listeners.
can't see the link. That's right.
Yeah.
But now they can see it. So anyway, there's the link. But anyway, that is now the news. So if you're looking to volunteer, go for it. It's a good time.
I had a terrible experience with the Paizo group.
Hence the
did
cut
you?
from the news every
Yeah, right.
episode.
Yeah, I've shared it before.
Jason and I have talked. Yeah, Jason and I have talked about going to play Starfinder so many times at Gen Con, and we always find something else to do.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'll tell you the story real quick.
There we go.
I was playing
There we
Starfinder. Starfinder from Paizo is a lot like Star Wars Saga 3D that's based on the same basic rules, right? D&D 3.5. Saga was based on D&D 3.5 and 4.0. And so I'd never played before, but I had GM Star Wars Saga for like 3 years, and I knew the game inside and out. And the GM was mad that I understood how to play my character because I got the basics of the rules within 5 minutes of sitting down. And then he started like having all the baddies just attack me. And he
Well,
gave
you're a
everybody
huge
like
target now,
equivalent of,
Dan.
say what?
You're a huge target now.
Yeah, you could ask Jim about this. He was like, yeah, he was being mean to you because he kept like throwing 2d20s, and it was like there'd be 10 baddies and 5 PCs, and like 9 of the baddies would attack me. It was so fun.
I feel like this isn't the first time you've been at a con and the DM has attacked you.
I think that's my
specifically.
main story. No, there's 2 big
What?
stories. That was the small. I gave you the small story. It's in the show. We covered this when
We've
Nate was
covered
on
it,
the
yeah.
show. We've covered this ground.
Yeah.
Go back into the archive when
I need to
Nate-
play more games with you at a con so I can experience this.
I don't. I'm,
It's
I'm
true.
a nice guy.
We also need
I
Nate to
just
come on and
understood the
verify
game.
this.
I just
Yeah.
knew
No,
what to
play-
do with
Yeah, we
my
need-
character.
Playing with Dan's fun.
Oh,
We
man.
need Nate to come on and give us the other side
Oh
of the
yeah,
story.
yeah.
He
Well, I'm
wasn't
done.
out- It was Jim. Jim and I were there, and somebody else from our group. I can't remember who, but Jim was like, "Wow, wow."
Yeah.
All right, I'll shut up now.
Okay, cool.
Good times. Well, thank you for the news, Dan. I know it was a slow time because of Christmas, which means that we get to play more, right? And that's always a good thing. Always a good thing. So, speaking of the holidays, and now that it's New Year's, it's time for our New Year's resolutions. So, let's talk New Year's resolutions. First off, we need to do a review of what happened last year.
Mhm.
So, let me start with mine. I'll start with mine. So, my first resolution was win the Eternal War on Grey. I mean, I think that might have been a bit of a lofty resolution there. You can't blame me for reaching high. What happened? I painted several war bands and I got overwhelmed. I got overrun. It was bad. I had a full retreat. This is but I fought back valiantly at the end of the year and knocked out a couple of war bands. And so I'm still looking at a pile of gray that needs to be done. But there was some good stuff in there. I painted most of the box of Cursed City, which is good. Although was that last year? I don't think that was last year.
You know,
I
we
think that
talk
was this year
about
that I painted it.
when we
Yeah.
when we set goals with groups, we usually talk about making realistic goals. Setting
Yeah, it's
realistic
true.
goals.
Smart goals.
So,
yeah,
yeah.
measurable,
Let's go through smart goals real
attainable.
quick. What does the S stand for with smart?
What does it stand for?
Oh, I'm googling it. Specific.
Oh.
Specific. M. Measurable.
Oh, yeah.
A,
Yeah,
achievable.
winning the Eternal
Achievable.
War. I mean, that in
Achievable.
its name already.
Yeah.
An eternal war.
Yeah.
R is relevant. Have you
I mean, it's
played
relevant
enough
to what we're
Cursed
doing,
City
yes.
to justify painting Cursed City?
Well, to be fair, a lot of those models I knew were going to be used in Warcry warbands as well.
Warcraft. Okay.
Yeah.
And the T is for time bound.
Yeah. Well, it was within
this
the
year.
year, right? It was within the year, and it was measurable, which is win. Did I win or no? I mean, yes or no. And it was specific to models. Attainable is where it got me. Attainable. So was that
Yeah.
attainable? The problem is I saw way too many other things. I did paint the new orcs from the from the Dominion box, right? The why am I forgetting their names? Cruel Boys. I did paint up that side of the box. I've got a bunch of, I got my Kharadron Overlords painted.
You did a lot.
So,
You did a
I
lot.
did. But
You
I
did a lot.
imported more though. I ended up getting 2
Yes, you
extra
did.
Warcry boxes. I got a bunch of other stuff. So
What I'd
yeah.
like to suggest to you
Mhm.
is what would be your 5-year trajectory? If you accumulate and paint minis at the current rate that you have over the
Yeah.
last 6 months,
Yeah.
in 20 years, will you have nothing but minis everywhere where the eye can see?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just
There's
gonna let
in
that-
fact In fact, your daughter Jason may have seen my Instagram reel that I put out yesterday that said, you know,
Yeah, I
some
saw it.
people say that you lose value. This, well, this, who cares about that? I've got a a mental
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
So
You did
yeah.
do a good
Anyway,
job though achieving your second objective.
yes, my second objective was it was run an event, and I did two events, and not just two events, right? So we had the Huzzah Warcry event, but I also was the TO for the Warcry Grand Tournament at the Nova Open, which was kind of a big deal. That was ended up being a major tournament in the US last year, and I think kind of helped solidify us as sort of leaders within the Warcry community, because we're putting out stuff that's relevant. So
Yep.
it was pretty good. That was a good event. So yeah, so
Yeah,
it was
well,
good.
we should do more too. I think that was a good, very, smart.
Yep.
We measurable, we could achieve it, all those good things,
I
and
think it was a
it
stretch
brought to
goal
the
too.
community.
I think
It
when
was a
you
stretch goal.
said that, we were like, maybe.
Well, I don't think
Yep.
you were originally gonna on Nova Open, but then you saw it as an opportunity and you grabbed the reins, which was good on you for that.
Yeah, so there was another guy that had originally planned to run the competitive tournament, and he decided last minute that he didn't want to do that as well as the narrative. And so when I had James O'Brien on the show to talk about the Nova Open on our AOS feed, he said, "By the way, Warcry is missing a guy," and I said, "I think I can be that guy. Let me get back to you in 2 days." And I had to think about it if I really wanted to commit to it, because it meant me painting a lot of terrain, which, by the way, I did. So I painted a lot of terrain. So, and we used every ounce of those terrains during our
Yeah,
event.
I like how you keep going back to that first one to try to help yourself feel better about it. It's like
I
we're
got
good.
to somehow.
Okay, it's like you did
All
good.
right, my
You
last one
did
that I
good.
had was yeah, my last one I had was play more board games with the kids. I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not do this as well. I think part of the problem is I needed a better SMART goal here. It was not measurable, like more than what like
More,
I
yeah.
should have done like once a third. You know.
It sounds like a terrible waste of time.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
funny.
I mean, we did play some games, and we had a good time, but I've got to figure out what kinds of games are going to really interest my kids and my wife and me. Like, there's a weird Venn diagram that's right there that sometimes the kids and I are syncing on a game, and the wife is not, and the wife and the
It's
kids
hard
are
to
syncing, and
find.
I am not. So yeah, I don't know what that is yet.
You'll be happy if you just cut her out of the picture entirely.
Yeah, but she's just there. She's there. She's got to be involved, right? So yeah.
Oh, she listens
Anyway.
to the show. Hi, Lauren. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
So yeah, I did not do. I actually probably did better with my painting than I did with the board games with the kids. So my response to that was,
Did
"Lasai."
better with some alone time than you did with father time.
Oh, I'm telling you what, though, man. Painting minis is a damn antisocial activity. It is
Yeah.
antisocial unless you're like, hey guys, let's have a painting party. I'm like, I don't know how to schedule that into my life. At 11 o'clock, I can go down to the basement and paint minis till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, yeah. And get up at 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, nailed one, did okay ish on another, and failed at a third. So yeah, that's my recap. What
Very
about you,
cool.
Dan? How did you do?
Mine was RPG less and play board games more. I think because the way my year went, I did wind down RPG last year. I was spinning up my Klingon group. We ran for a little bit less than a year. We had a divorce in the RPG group, which is a bummer. By the way, you got a married couple inside your RPG group, they get a divorce.
Oh.
It's gonna sour that whole group. You
Yeah.
gotta pivot quick and come up with a new plan. And there's no good
Oh.
answer. But we had fun doing Klingons. I got everybody a leather Klingon pin. This is real leather at Gen Con.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so the other guy, because the Star Wars campaign we did printed us all hoodies that had logos and stuff that referenced what we did in that game. So It's a group where we throw money at each other, which is good fun. But that one we had to wind down a little bit. We're taking a bit of a break. There's a lot of things, like I'd mentioned, a lot of stuff going on in everybody's personal lives. RPGing less and doing West marches is awesome. By the way, I am glad we have a West Marches campaign where I don't have to show up and I don't have to GM. And I can play when I want to play and GM when I want to GM. And it is amazing as far as getting RPGs to get all the fun out of a regular campaign without the burden of when's the next game? Can we get everybody here? Oh, we only have 3 out of 5. Let's find another night. I hate all that stuff. I hate the logistics of putting together regular campaigns, and West Marches, folks, and you can listen to our other podcasts where we talked about that extensively. Basically, it's a lot of rotating GMs, a lot of players. People can just form an impromptu group whenever there's players, whenever there's GMs, and there's a rule set to make sure things don't get too weird, and make sure one GM doesn't make life difficult for the other GM. So I give it 2 thumbs up for West Marches and RPGs. It really takes a lot of the family time scheduling. I did not have good scheduling this year for family reasons. So I was super glad we had West Marches, because then I could just show up or wait till the last minute to decide to show up. And that was amazing. Get into Games Workshop games. 99% I was going to do Warcry, and I did, but I almost didn't, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad I got into Warcry. I have a pretty good size. I've got enough minis in one faction to probably squeeze out 2 warbands if I had to, 2 crappy warbands, and I've got plenty minis to micromanage a decent warband in that faction. So now that I'm painted and I'm good, I'm excited about that. I want to play that more. I don't know if I'm going to buy a lot of warbands this year, but I've got one. So let me know when you guys play.
Hey, one's good. One is good.
This is, and I'll talk about this when we talk about next year, is the one I failed on, was play the games I've been buying but haven't been playing. So I'm going to give myself a D- there. But we'll talk about that more in the next section.
Fair enough. Jason, how was your year in review?
All right. So my first one was to play a new game, either board, video, or tabletop or RPG a month. And I far surpassed this goal. The Games Pass was my savior to achieve this one. Played lots of new games this year, but I also played a lot of new board games too. I got in with a group that plays about every other Thursday in my local area, and I didn't get it all the time, but probably about 50% of the year I was with those guys playing a new board game I hadn't played before. So this was really good. Now, I did start to write it down. The problem is I hadn't quite put all of my kids onto their own Xbox accounts. So my kids, I have an Xbox in the basement as well, and they would just log in randomly, and I'd be at work, and all of a sudden I'd start getting achievements for games I was playing. And so they kind of muddied up my list of games that I'd played by playing other games as well. But I'm feeling pretty good about achieving that one. So I give myself an A on that one.
Yeah. Well, you had too many kids. That's the problem.
Yeah. I actually, over the break, I assigned them all their own accounts over the break. So hopefully we'll fix that for next year.
Can you guys walk me through how to do that? They're all playing on mine.
Yeah. It's pretty
easy. You just need their email address, and you set up an account and put it under.
So they have to have an email address. That's the problem. Yeah.
2 out of 3.
But you can. I created some throwaway Outlook ones for my kids for their Xbox accounts.
Yeah. My second one was to read a sci-fi or fantasy book a month, and I wanted to do that through either audio or physical. I have a kind of a long commute, and I will say I did a really good job on this one. That's only 12 books, right? I think I probably got to about 10. At the end of the year, I moved away from sci-fi fantasy and started to do some other stuff that was work related on my commute. But I'd give myself probably a B+ on that one. That's something that I really enjoy. Yeah, I really enjoy it because it helps me kind of stay up. And I'm not one of those guys that waits for the next, good. What is it? What is that? Goodreads, or what's that website
Mhm.
called that everyone? Yeah, waits for the next list to pop and grabs the thing at the top of the list. I'm like, I dig into sci-fi from like the 70s. Like Larry Niven is like one of my most favorite sci-fi authors, and he's like, he's like a late 60s to late 70s kind of a when he was in his prime. So I like grabbing those classics because I like to see how they have influenced the literature that we have today.
Hmm.
But anyways, so I think I give myself a B to a B plus on that. My last one was to design a game. Now this one was interesting. My goal was to design a game. I actually designed 2 games this year. The first one we played on Tabletop Simulator, and we only played it once together. And I got a bunch of input to feedback, and we never just got around to doing it again. So that one I think wasn't quite complete, but I got the general mechanics in place. And then there was another game that I designed, which is a kind of a roll and write game, because I like those mechanics where you can create a resource on a turn, and then everyone can kind of actually write on a piece of paper in front of them, kind of like what Twilight Inscription, which we've talked about, is, and a bunch of other roll and writes.
Did you play
that have
the
come out.
zombie side roll and write with us?
Yeah, I have it. Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
You picked it up at Gen Con, right?
Yep, picked it up Gen Con, and then I've played it at my house with several people many times.
That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. So I will give myself an A for that one. However, that one was achieved at probably within the first quarter and a half of this year, and then I never got back to it. So I didn't take it any further, which is going to tie in, like Dan said, it's going to tie into one of my resolutions for this next cycle.
Nice. Very good. Okay, well, let's get into the resolutions for next year.
Yeah.
So this one we'll go round robin a little bit. We'll do one at a time. So my first one is that I do want to do more games with the kids for real this time. That's what I literally put, for real this time. So I'm gonna make this a smart goal. I'm gonna say I'm gonna play a game with the kids once a month. So 12 games with the kids, and that's what we're gonna do.
My dad always making time for me to play a board game once a month.
I know, right? I know. You're welcome, children. So
when you say 12,
his maniacal painting.
I know. When I say 12, it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that much, but
Yeah.
honestly, getting them to all sit down in the same place, like that actually may be somewhat achievable, somewhat. So it's gonna have
Now,
to
are you going to
be a
count?
Sunday afternoon when nobody wants to take a nap.
Are you going to count? Like if you sit down, you play 3 games of a card game. Are you going to count that?
Like 3 games, or count it as one?
Yeah, like for example,
count
this
it as
Sunday
one.
I
That's
played
like
one
session.
taco and burrito with my kids, and we played it twice. Do I count that as 2? Or?
Yeah, no, I count it. I count it as one.
Hold yourself to a higher standard than
Yeah.
that, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once a month. I've got to do it once a month. It's got to be
There you go.
attainable, Dan. It's got to be attainable. And I'm going to say something, by the way. We played a game. So December, for some reason, they had a flash sale on Miniature Market on this game called Pact. It's like a goblin kind of sort of deck building game that you do. I got it for $5, right? It retails for $25. I got it for $5, $10 after shipping, right, and tax and stuff like that. And we played it, and my wife did not like it because she was getting trounced in the game. And I literally, guys, I literally had to take my foot completely off the accelerator.
You just
And
let
like
the
I could have just like
Hi, Lauren.
I could have just literally just like kept thrusting with the dagger, right? And if I were playing with against you guys, I 100% would have, right? But I was like, I want her. I literally in my mind said, I want her to play this again, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to. I can't do anything right now. Next turn. Like I did that a couple of times because I'm like, I want her to be able to play this again. Because it took her a little bit to figure out the mechanics, and by the end, she was like figuring it out pretty well. But I could have completely demoralized her, and that would have been
that tactic has failed for me in years recent because my wife has figured out that I'm letting her win. She says, "You're letting me win. I'm never playing this again."
No, I'm just stupid, sweetie. Don't you know how stupid I am? I'm just real stupid.
What do these cards do?
Let me just say, my wife felt bad for me once because she made me cancel a game night. So she's like, "Well, I'll play X-Wing with you." So I taught her how to play X-Wing, and she ended up kind of winning, pretty much winning, because I was not. I was pulling punches, and let me just say, that was the second most awkward night of our entire marriage.
Nice. The first one being the wedding, right? Wedding night.
La 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 la. I didn't say that. I did not say that. You said that. Don't put words in my mouth.
So yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I got to find the right games that everybody's going to kind of be into, and we're going to play some. We're going to play some
goal
games.
is
One a
right.
month.
You can
Your
do
goal
it.
is to
Once
play
a
the
month
games
is
with the
doable.
kids, Justin. Your goal is the kids,
Once a month.
not the whole family.
Once a month is doable. You can do it.
That's true. Yep. One game a month.
He's updating. It's good. Make it measurable.
I am.
There you go. There you go. What
There
about
it
you,
is.
Dan?
Okay. All right.
I really want to play the games I've been buying. I've got games on the shelf. I've never played Zombicide Green Horde. I hear it's a horrible game. I have it on my shelf. I've never played it.
It's a great game.
I've heard it's
Oh my
terrible.
gosh.
Some
Really?
people hate it. I want
It's
to
a
play
hor-
it.
it's
It's
a great
right
game.
there.
Who
I really have
hates
too
that
many
game?
games.
It's so
Well,
much
all right.
fun.
Let's prove it. Let's play it and prove it.
I don't have an opinion on it. I haven't played it. I
And
don't
by the
even
way,
know.
those are some minis that need to be painted.
Oh yeah.
There's some amazing
Absolutely.
minis.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's late. That's my later thing that I've got to cover.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anyway,
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I've
Stealing
got
thunder.
I've got a lot of expansions for games I love. I've never played any of those expansions. I really just want to start playing my library. I want to play my library more than adding to it. So I have gotten lucky with a few expansions. Miniature Market had this gigantic felt Las Vegas version expansion to Wits and Wagers, and my wife really likes Wits and Wagers. I forgot I even bought it. It was like $5. I've spent more on shipping because the tube was like this long. It was like 28, 30 inches long. And we got it out New Year's Eve. Jay was there. We had an absolute blast. And I'm like, oh man, the stuff that I have on my shelf is good. If I would just look at my shelf instead of trolling around the internet to get the the dopamine hit of buying something.
And another example of Dan has this knack of finding things for cheap. Like
it was awesome.
It's because
She couldn't get mad at me, and it was a game she liked, and it helped the game be more fun with a big group. It was a win-win-win-win-win all the way across the board.
Dan, if you want to play more games and not buy, I still find the good deals. Just post them in the Discord and let your friends buy them.
Sure, I think I need to do that more. And I think I have over the.
You should just make a channel called Dan's Discounts.
Dan's Discounts. Sometimes by the time I've posted it, it's gone.
Discount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So that's my thing, is to keep playing my library more than buying.
Now, my first one is to produce the games that I designed. Oh.
Hold on, Jason. Sorry. Dan,
we're doing a smart.
Is that measurable? Yes. Is it measurable?
Okay, here we go. I'm going to play every game that I've never played that I own, and every expansion. Well, not every. I have a lot of expansions. I need to play every game that I own that I've never played in 2020.
Oh my gosh!
Wow, is that attainable, Dan?
Okay. Well, I got to figure out a thing. I got to figure out a thing. How about 6 games collecting dust? Collecting dust.
There you go.
Dust is never played. Never played or only played once.
Fair enough. 6 games.
Right.
I think that's doable.
I'm writing it down in the show notes, people.
That's good. That's good. All right, Jason. Sorry to steal your thunder. We just needed to nail him down a little bit.
No, that's okay. So I'm going to produce one of the 2 games that I designed last year. So actually produce it.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't necessarily
what does that look like?
It doesn't necessarily mean Kickstarter, but needs a way that I can actually acquire the materials to put in a box so that we could give it to someone as a gift if I wanted to, right? Or I could give it to someone else to determine, hey, is this thing worth going any further? So I don't want to go Kickstarter. I don't want to find a publisher. I want to just make a contained thing, tangible thing that I could hand to someone, or I could take to the Gen Con playtest area and sit down and say, Let's play this. What do you guys think?
So does that mean like 3D print the parts and
It
like
might.
get
It
someone to
might be
design a
3D
board
print,
for
and
you or something?
it might be 3D print. It might be just send off, card stuff. What is it, like Arts Cow is one of those
Yeah.
you can make like a fake, fake deck of cards with whatever one you want, and it might be that. But I want to produce a game in a box that I can then take to Gen Con and maybe do an event with, like our friend with Wizard Miners, right? He's made
Yeah. Okay.
2 copies, and every year he goes to Gen Con with it and he plays it to refine it with people. So maybe that should be my goal, is to produce one of the games and take it to a convention and play it.
Ooh, I like that. I like that one a
Yeah.
lot. And fortunately, I know a guy who's into making boxes right now.
Yeah, right. With
I can do a
special
nice bespoke
finger
box.
joints.
Yeah. Yeah. Just say this is not for production. This is just as a proof of
Yeah.
concept.
Proof of concept. Yeah.
You come in
Very
there with
good.
some nice finger joints, and people will be like, hey,
Yeah. Ooh.
there's no staples or screws in that box.
This game sucks, but look at this box.
Wow, there's a carpenter in
Look
this
at those finger
equation.
joints.
Yeah. So I think that's measurable. By the end of the year, I should have a box of one of my games, and I should have taken it somewhere
And
to play outside of my normal group.
if you plan to take it to PAX East, that's in December. So you got 12 months.
That's right.
No.
It's right over my anniversary. Always no problem to do that.
Not a problem. Not an issue.
Not a problem.
Okay, so my my second one that I have is I want to play some of the starter sets that I have, some of the RPG starter sets. So I've got this 2022. I ended up collecting a few. I kind of realized in 2022 that I liked collecting starter sets, and it kind of started with the Call of Cthulhu starter set and the RuneQuest starter sets that I got, and some of these other ones. I'm like, I really like these starter sets. It gives me a great opportunity to really dig into like what this game is about. And I think with starter sets, you really get to see what the producer of that RPG wants you to play out of the box. Like, this is an ideal game that you would have with this RPG in that starter set. So I love them for that, because it's a great opportunity to try it out, see if you like the mechanics and things like that. So I've got quite a few on my shelf over here. I've got the One Ring. Blackbirds just came out with a starter set, and I figure since I book, I should just pick up the starter set anyway. I got Warhammer Fantasy right there. I picked up a Virtual Blades in the Dark from a Humble Bundle. So looking forward to trying that one out. And yeah, I mean, I've got quite a few that I want to play. So I figure those 4 would be pretty good. One Ring, Blackbirds, Warhammer Fantasy, Blades in the Dark. Let's do those 4 this year with those starter sets and see what we come up with. So I want to try those out. Variety, because variety is the spice of life, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So that's my second one. Dan, what's your second one?
All right, here we go. As of January 1, that includes my son's Marvel United minis. I'm going to paint every mini that's a mini, not like a little wood meeple.
Yeah, those don't
But
count.
everything
Meeples
that's
don't
like a
count.
plastic mini on a stand is going to be painted by the end of the year.
Okay. How many do you estimate that you have right now? Just a ballpark figure.
There's probably 100 Rise of Moloch minis, probably 45 Zombie Side minis. I've got dozens of, let's see, New Angeles minis, which is
Okay.
Android universe. What else? Horrified.
Okay.
Horrified has minis. So it's
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
many. If I really went through and just
I
Probably
would
like
say you probably have
200,
200. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's probably 200, 250 minis. And I mean, I plowed through those Rise
Yes,
of
you
Moloch
did.
minis and the Lord of the Rings minis
Yeah,
when
you
I
could
got
do
really
that.
into it. I'm good at
But
doing
here's
big batches.
Okay, so I agree with you, but here's the question. Do you feel like you are getting pickier with your quality than you
Yes.
did when you were doing the Lord of the Rings minis, for example?
Yeah. The Lord of the Rings minis, I'm not as proud of as I should be, but they turned out very nice. But
Yeah.
that was like my training wheel set of minis, even though they're on the display case behind me in that corner. I look at them and go, well, that was kind of reductive. There's not as many colors as I could have used. There's not as much variety. First of all, I was using a very much more limited palette of colors than I have
Right.
now.
Yeah, 100%.
And so yeah, sure, but they're not perfect. But that's the great thing about painting a board game mini is that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a whole lot of who cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Oh, if
it's
you've got paint on a board game mini, that's a bonus.
yeah, everybody's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring in a half-assed Warcry warband, and everybody's like, "Oh, you suck." Half-assed board game mini, everybody's like, "Wow, wow, you care about
That's
your
true.
games."
Yeah, that's a culture difference for sure.
Yeah,
Right?
big culture difference, and there's a lot less stress. It's just for fun. It's pure
Yeah.
funsies, pure funsies.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I better get dirt and rocks for the base and all that stuff, which I like doing. I've done that this year, but for a board game, paint it black, move on.
Yeah. We played Ankh this last week, you and I and
Man,
our
how
friend
did that fall
Sean
off of
at
Geek Week?
Adams. I know. I don't know how it did, and I kind of want to insert it here because that is a cool minis or not game. And our friend Adam painted those miniatures, and how much better was it having them painted on that board playing? Like
So much better.
so much better. So much
His
better.
paint jobs were amazing, thematic, immersive. I was down for the whole thing.
Yep.
For that, because what Ankh is Egyptian gods fighting each other. You kind of have to dial up I don't know what the right phrase is. You have to the genre piece. It has to feel more
Yeah.
genre-y because that's kind of like why you're playing that game and not some other random mini war
Right.
game on a planet or on a battle map.
Yeah,
But
that
no,
could
he
have
did
been
a great
skinned with
job.
any other game, but Egyptian gods definitely. And so I agree. So 215, I think you can do it, Dan. I think that's an interesting goal. I think that's a bit of a stretch goal, but I think it's a good one.
Well, it's like a no risk goal. It's like, who cares if you don't paint your board game minis? It's like not a big deal. By the way, our friend Adam posted pictures of his Ankh minis on our Discord. So if you're following the
Oh yeah,
Tabletop
you
and
guys
Beyond
should go
Discord,
check it out.
you can see what he'd been doing, and they turned out wonderful, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. And if you're wondering how to get into the Tabletop and Beyond Discord page, visit our Facebook page or Twitter. We've got it pinned posts and pinned tweets where the Discord is. You just click the link and hop in with us. And we've had a flux of new people come in lately, and we've had some really awesome discussions, especially our Andor one today. That was interesting. So, all right, Jason, what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 goal will be to GM more.
Okay.
I like to GM a lot. It's something I think that I have a knack for being able to GM without a lot of prep and still have fun because of just the type of games that I play, right? Like I'm not really a D&D GM. I do stuff like, the zines, the little like pamphlet RPGs like Mothership. Hell Knight is supposed to be coming to me this year,
So
which
excited
I'm
for that.
really excited about. So we're going to do that one. That was a Kickstarter from last year. I have the Blade Runner book now with the starter kit in my house, so I'm prepping that one. And then we still need to revisit the last 2 arcs of the Aliens RPG.
Lincoln
my goal
literally
is to
keeps
knock.
asking me.
I know. My goal is to knock all of those out, at least one of all of those this year. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, which I think is totally achievable. But I want to just at least put it there as an objective so that I'm tracking it because I enjoy GMing, and a lot of times the months just fly by, and I realize I haven't done it in a while. So I want to
Gotta
make
get
sure
them on
that
the
it's
calendars.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. We need the system in place, right, to help us,
Yep.
which is getting
Yeah.
it on the calendar. Very good.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so my third one is that I want to attend at least 3 conventions this year. So maybe 4. And here are the ones that I'm thinking of. Adepticon, Gen Con, Nova Open, and maybe PAX East, because that's in Philadelphia. So
It used to be in Boston, so Philly's way better than Boston.
It is, and it's right near that reading terminal, which is like always a good time for food. I mean, like that food there is amazing. So I think it would be fun to just like get up to Philly because it's only like 2 hours and a bit from where we live, and just spend a little weekend
How
there.
fast are you driving, man?
You're talking about
It's
PAX Unplug, PAX Unplug, right?
Philadelphia
Paxton Plug
is
is-
like a 4-hour drive with
No, it
normal
is
traffic.
not.
No, it's
With
not. It's
normal
4 hours to
traffic
New
in the
York,
DC
man.
metro area, it's 4.
No,
I've
it's
never
not.
made it to Philly in under 4 hours.
How slow are you
Well, you gotta
driving?
watch when you leave.
I'm
You
driving
gotta
as slow
watch
as
the
the brake
roads.
lights in front of me.
Well, okay, that's probably the problem. Like
That's the problem.
we went up to Philadelphia and we had to be up there by 8 a.m. So we left at 5 and we were there with like 30 minutes to spare, 2.5
I've
hours.
never. I will say I have done it in about 3.5. That's the fastest I've ever been able to do it.
Huh.
Yeah, time of day
Interesting.
really matters. The 95
does.
is like terrible.
Yeah.
It is.
But anyways,
So,
it's not
but
that far away.
yeah, so 3 conventions. The biggest hurdle here is going to be convincing my wife that 3 conventions is the maybe 4 like is good.
We should
So, I
decide
think
if we want to look for a teeny tiny armpit convention locally that we don't
Oh,
have
that might
to,
be good.
like a Nova Open, where you don't have to shell out for room and board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the Nova Open is good that way where, you don't have to do much. And Dan, this year you should come play Warcry.
yeah, I would. I had real life stuff interrupt that, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
down for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because even if you don't want to do the competitive tournament, they got the narrative, which is a ton of fun,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I wish
lot
their
of fun.
fees were a little lower. Nova Open is a little pricey on fees, but the venue's
Yeah.
okay. The venue's pretty good, and it's very contained, self-contained in one large hotel.
So fun fact, venue is changing. It's going to be at the Hilton in DC now.
Oh,
So it's going to be so the Nova Open will be in Washington DC, which is kind of hilarious.
okay. We'll talk offline. We'll see what kind of.
Yeah.
I might have access to park. I might have access to free parking. Let's talk. Let's just say that out loud.
Okay. All right. I like
It
where that's
depends on
going.
which Hilton. Depends on which Hilton.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, so anyway, yeah, that's mine. Is go to some conventions. I'm gonna try to make 3, if possible 4. That's my stretch on that one 4. So, all right, Dan. What about your second? Or
I
third?
really
Your
do
third.
want to produce at least one adventure under the Genesis Foundry gaming license. Not to make money. I probably will maybe just give it away for free, or do a pay what you want and just leave it in like a drive-through RPG account where they never cash it out, and I just get other PDFs with it,
Mhm.
or just give it away for funsies. And just I've always wanted to do it. I've had a lot of ideas rumbling around in my head for literally years, and I think I just need to do the beginning and the middle and the end instead of just the beginning part. I don't want to be the guy who starts lots of projects and never finishes them.
Yeah, dude, that's cool. That's cool. Well, we haven't talked about this yet, but we have a Patreon coming out for the account that we've been working on. Jason's already written he's already written an adventure that's going to be part of the first month's rewards. So when that comes out, you guys will see that. But he and I will be writing quite a few RPG adventures. And I think, Dan, at one point you said that you may contribute to a Star Wars one at one point, and
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
see
happy
about that.
to run Zoom games with people who
Yeah.
contribute. So
Yeah.
I've been doing it a long time, right, Jason? Plus
Yeah.
years that you and I have not been gaming. So I've been doing it since the late 1980s.
Yeah. I think one of the things we want to do for certain levels of our Patreon was to have an online gaming session with those who are part of our Patreons to give them priority in our seats online. So that'd be cool. I will say the first adventure that we did was originally written as a Shadow of the Demon Lord adventure, but we converted it to 5th edition so that people who are familiar with that will be able to run our first adventure as a 5th edition adventure. So that'll be fun.
You're just putting nails in the coffin of Shadows of the Demon Lord. Is that what you're doing?
No, we're gonna have a Shadow of the Demon Lord adventure in there.
We thought about
So.
actually publishing both, but this one, just to kind of get our wheels under us, we put it in just to help us form our templates and stuff. We formed it into 5th edition.
So the other thing too is that we've got 12 adventures coming out, one for each month, right? And Jason and I collectively decided that because D&D is the big juggernaut in the room, we'll be doing 6 D&D adventures and 6 non D&D adventures. So
Mm.
that'll include like a Mothership, a Call of Cthulhu, maybe a Blackbirds one, like something that is just a little bit different, that has quick start rule sets out there, so that if our folks aren't as familiar with those games, they can still download some quick start rule sets and play a game with it. So
I have a Star
it'll be
Wars
pretty cool.
Saga edition mission I wrote for Kubla Khan in 2006 that's begging to
Oh
be
wow.
converted into the FFG system. So
Okay, there you go.
it might lower my barrier of entry as having
Yeah,
a
let's
lot
do
of
it.
the writing already done. It's just a matter of, can I find the hard drive that has those files?
Right.
Yeah.
That's why all my stuff's on Google Drive.
That's right.
As
Exactly.
my computers die, the notes stay with me.
Very good. All right, Jason, what's your one? Take us home.
I will say that I have to continue to upgrade my Google Drive plan, though, to hold on to all that stuff, because
What,
the
what are you up to? I
entropy
want to
is
know. Do
real.
you mind sharing with our listeners?
Entropy is real. What'd you say?
Which plan are you? How
Oh,
much space are you buying a year?
I don't even know. I think I'm on the first terabyte one now.
The first terabyte.
Yeah.
It
I
keeps
think I was at the
you-
200 gig last, and it was the next one after that.
Yeah.
But you got to be fair. Mine's shared across my whole family, so I have
Yeah.
8 people that. Well, not my little ones. I basically have 5 adult-ish people that are hitting that storage space.
Well, they shifted Google Photos into that storage space too.
Yeah,
that was a big change.
that was it. And actually I started getting notifications mid last year that I was hitting my cap, and I'm like, how the crap am I hitting my cap? And I looked, it's because my daughter, she had her
I was gonna say,
iPhone. She had her iPhone auto backing her Google Photos. So there was like 80 gigs of like Instagram, like 5-second clips.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is not happening anymore.
Yeah. It's
Like, I
tough.
went in there and I said, all of your stuff is local. When your phone fills up, it's your problem. So she's
nice.
actually not on the on the Google Drive right now.
Banished from the
Yeah.
Google Drive.
But anyways, so my last one is to play Kill Team for reals this year.
Oh,
And I got to think of how to actually make that, measurable. But like I really wanted to get
convention.
into Kill Team last year. We played one game and that was it. Which was cool. So we, accomplished one
Yeah.
game. But how do I get into it for real? Because Warcry is kind of our main thing, which I'm
Yep.
absolutely okay with still being. But I want to also be able to explore the sci-fi skirmish.
You
I
need to
didn't
pick
tell
a
you.
Saturday and do it for 4 or 5 hours. And do
Yeah.
just get like 4 players together and do like
Yeah.
a round robin.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell you, Jason, but I got the Into the Dark box.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Lauren got it
That's
for me for Christmas. So that's more miniatures.
more
Yeah,
minis,
I know.
more terrain.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've got the Into the Dark box, which will be interesting because that's kind of the season that they're playing right now. But you want to know how to make this measurable? Say that you're going to play Kill Team at a convention, because you will have to learn it well enough to go play at a
Yeah.
convention. Now they got casual pods that they can play and
Yep.
competitive ones, and I'm okay like playing Kill Team casual,
Yeah.
or prepping for that anyway.
Yeah. I have to think about that because I really want to focus my conventions on Warcry, but you could always break it up as long as they don't overlap.
Well, so that's the thing, right? Is so I found out this. Here's a spoiler alert for everybody. I'll be running the Warcry GT next year. I've already
At Nova?
been nominated in
At Nova
at Nova.
/DC/Nova.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And the thing about that is that they're making it on a Sunday this year. The Warcry GT is going to be on a Sunday.
That's gonna be
I
hard.
know.
With
I know.
yeah,
I know.
Sundays are hard.
The narrative will be like he wants to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The guy wants to do a Warcry narrative those 3 days. But he's kind of like pop in, pop out. Like if you want to play one day and not another day, or like whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'm thinking that I'll play some Kill Team on some days, and then some Warcry narrative, and then run the GT. So I know. I tried to get the GT on a Thursday, but they really wanted to put it on a Sunday because they're making the Age of Sigmar GT or Grand Tournament earlier. So I think that they're going to cut down to the top 8 on Sunday, for
Mm,
example, and not have an RTT. So he's like, I think you'll get a lot more people to come and play Warcry because like the Age of Sigmar is not going to be there. And I'm like, maybe,
interesting.
but we'll see. So
Sunday, last day of the con. A lot of people are traveling on that Sunday.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we'll see. See what happens.
yep.
So I want to play Kill Team for real. So I play Kill Team in a convention of some form.
Don't play
Yeah,
competitively.
I think that's good.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. Won't be competitive. Oh, absolutely won't be competitive. Unless I'm really feeling it by summertime for some reason.
Yeah.
We'll see. Warcry is my main. I just really want to get into Kill Team a little bit more, but I'm still, to be fair, I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about Kill Team. I'm excited based off of our one game and a lot
Yeah.
of battle reports I've been reading or watching. But I want to have a position on Kill Team, more of a position on it.
That's fair.
We'll say it that way. That's
That's
it for
good.
me.
That's good. Well, I think that these are all very good, smart goals, gentlemen. I think we've revised them to help us be a little bit more measurable next year when we review them and go through
Yeah.
them. Now, the trick will be to remember that we actually put these down because I'm going to be honest, I've kind of forgot about the kid playing more board games with the kids.
I kind of forgot about my kids all year.
So yeah,
At least they were finding scraps to eat.
You
Yeah,
never forgot about your little gray minis.
I did not.
Your real
They
kids.
also don't talk back to me.
There you go.
It cost me a lot of money still, though.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, thank you everybody to listening to this. What are your goals that you guys have this year? We'd love to hear about it in the Discord. We'd love to hear about some of the goals that you might have on Facebook or Twitter. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think, and we'd love to chat about it. And if we can help you get there, we'd be happy to do it. So just let us know. Thank you so much for listening, and keep the dice rolling. Have a good night, everybody.
And thanks for
See ya.
watching.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully.